Hello students, I cordially welcome you all back to this session. Today we are on the verge of the conversational unit to finish the things off. All our previous classes witnessed about the views of Luis Borges on his reading, his mother, his blindness, the Library of Alexandria, which he dreamt all about, the poetry under which we observed the exact words, or we can say the precise words, and the metaphors as well. At the initial stage of this unit, I told you people the fact that this present unit is an excerpt taken from the 24 conversations in between Luis Borges and Olifano. In our previous classes, I spoke about the poetry and the metaphors. Now I am going to remind you people what I taught you the other day. As the conversation was kept moving in between Olifano and Borges, he made a mention of the art of poetry, in which a writer, like a poet or poetess, has to find out the precise words in it, which can give a poetic quality to a poetry. What I mean to say is that only the precise words which can be used in a poetry can give it a poetic quality, so that it can become a good and well knitted poetry. On listening to these words of Alifano, Borges opines that the precise words are actually what has given rise to the emotions of a poet and poetess. Students, I told you people in our previous class that a poet or poetess, while writing a poem, they may have some emotions in them. Only the precise words can give rise to those emotions to come out of a poet and poetess. After saying this statement, he recalls one of the greatest poetess of USA named Emily Dickinson, which can give an example to the precise words. Why? Because is that the poetess of USA has used the precise words in her poetry. The name of the poem, the name of the poetry that the USA poetess has written or composed is "This quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies." Here, the idea that we get out of this title of this poem is only banal. Why? Because is that we always get tired to see again and again or repeatedly the same sentence is being used in the entire poem. That is, this quiet dust was gentlemen and ladies. But here, the idea of the dust that we get to see in this poem is compared to the death, which means the place that is used to see in this poem is oftenly visited by the man and woman. The scenario is like a death, but when this poem is being written by this poetess, no children or gentlemen are outside playing or singing. Even the bees and other things or other living organisms are not outside to feed themselves. The whole atmosphere looks like what we call the graveyard. In the similar manner, the dust particles which are everywhere in that place are compared to the death. This atmosphere looks like a death. So that further, Halifono keeps saying that we all the people will one day be the dust, which means we will all die one day. This is what gives a poetic quality to the poetry of Emily Dickinson after using gentlemen and ladies. Here, what surprises, what brings us a wonder, what brings the readers an astonishment is that only the phrasal words, the gentlemen and ladies, the usage of gentlemen and ladies certainly has given a poetic quality to her poem, which gives a magic and poetic quality as well, which can attract the attention of the readers towards her poetry. If the poetess had written men and women instead of using gentlemen and ladies, the poetess would have failed in all her attempts to give a poetic quality to her poem. So that it's more important to find out the precise words in any given poetry. For this reason, Emily Dickinson, to give a poetic quality to her poem she had written, This Quiet Dust was Gentlemen and Ladies. And later we moved on to now about the metaphors, which are the inevitable part of any poetry. Here, Holifano makes a statement over there in his conversation along with his colleague Borges. He tells Olifano that metaphors exist from our very beginnings when the writers start composing their literature or any form of literature. After mentioning this, he asks Borges a question that could he state on that concept about the metaphors. On listening these words by Olifano, Borges tells him that he believes that metaphors, if they are truly metaphors, exist from the very beginnings of the time when the writers start writing the literature with which they are associated. So, when all the writers start writing or composing their genres of literature, in the meantime, they have used these metaphors. Their genres or sorts of writings are included. Their sorts of writing include these metaphors in their writing. But we the people express all the metaphors very differently. After saying this, Borges he tells Olifano that he occasionally thought of reducing all the metaphors only into 5 or 6 in number, which means Olifano has reduced all the metaphors to only 5 or 6 in number, which seem to him to be the very essential metaphors which can play a vital role in making a good poetry. And later, Olifano asks Borges, what are those metaphors that you have reduced them to be the essential metaphors, which are only 5 or 6 in number? Borges tells him that they are the time and river, life and dreams, death and sleep, stars and eyes, and flowers and the woman. These are the 5 essential metaphors which can make a good poetry. They are these 5 metaphors are always found in all sorts or kinds of literature, whatever the writers may write. And there are some other metaphors, but they are only the whimsical or strange, which we are unfamiliar with. They are completely strange in nature. We wouldn't have any idea about those metaphors. And he further believes that the only job of a poet is only to discover or find out the metaphors which are included in a poetry, even though they may already exist in a poetry. This is the point where where I stopped teaching you people in our last class. Students, let's go from here onwards where Olifano says on addressing Borges. Borges, there are some people who speak of the disappearance of books. Here, what do we see is that in this present sentence, there are some people around us living their life. Their opinion is very different from that of other people. Some people are very strange in nature. Their destiny has been created by themselves only. They are very different from the other fellows in the society. So, such a people can speak about the disappearance of the book as they have witnessed something change or transition in the society, as they are living their life in a society where they can identify the development, where they can see the disappearance or the invisibility of the books. Here, what is Olifano trying to tell his readers along with Borges is that there are some people around us who live their life speaking about the disappearance of the books, which means those people speak about the invisibility or disappearance of the books, and those people assert that modern developments in the communications will replace them with something more dynamic. Here, especially those people assert or claim that modern developments, such a people whom we are talking about right now, they assert or they claim that modern developments. Here, what do we need to understand is that those people live their life in the modernized world. They have witnessed the development. Today, we are living our life in this modernized world, witnessing the development of the privatization, globalization, industrialization, and many more things are being increased among all the developments. This modernized world has witnessed a number of developments in it. So, as these people have observed the developments amidst them, they speak among themselves about the disappearance of the books. These modern developments in communications, especially the modern developments, have taken place in the area of communications, will replace them. Here, the word them refers to the books. The modern developments which we witness today in the area of communication will take place of the books, which means the communication, the development in the area of communication can substitute or take the place of the books, which means here the development in the area of communication makes possible everything to get connected with. The world becomes smaller, after having seen the development in the area of communications. I told you people many times that the whole world is on our palm. Each people in every nook and corner of the world can get connected through this communication. This communication make possible everything so that the world becomes so smaller. In this way, communications will take place of these book with something more dynamic, which means dynamic means creative. These communications can introduce something more creative than that of a book. Here, what I mean to say is that the books which we take hold of in our hand to get the knowledge and to be with the knowledge that we desire for, or the only way with which we are associated in the traditional way. Books are the things which we follow them in a traditional manner. Since the old age, the people of the world have been following the books traditionally. Every century, the human beings have gone through, witnessed about the textbook. All the centuries have followed these textbook traditionally. So, after having seen this traditional path which we had gone through earlier, which our ancestor had gone through earlier to get the knowledge out of the textbook, after having seen this traditional way, the modern developments in the communication want to change or bring some transition in the way of reading. So, this communication introduce something more dynamic in the way that we read, something more creative. Rather than using the textbook, the world thinks that it becomes so easy for us to refer to the creative ways to understand or to get the knowledge. That will require only less time than the reading. These creative ways, which are introduced by the development of the communications, require only less time. The creative methods, the creative approaches that we use only require less time. It uses only a minimum time to get the knowledge than that of a reading. So, the people or the present world, after getting developed in the area of communication, think that we need to have the dynamic ways to approach the knowledge or to get the knowledge than that of a reading. What do you think of that? After having listened to all these words, Borges tells Olifano that I believe that books will never disappear. This is the thing that our whole unit all about, that revolves around. This is the thing the whole unit runs around. I believe that books will never disappear. Borges opines that, as he believes that books will never ever disappear, because since many centuries human beings have been referring to the books to get the knowledge, to witness the knowledge human beings have ever gone through. So, the human beings will not witness the disappearance of the books. The books will never ever go far away from the books. Why? Because is that the human beings in the society are in a place to live their life all along with the books only. Why? Because is that having the books along with them is inevitable, is necessary to them. If they put all the books far away from them, they wouldn't get any knowledge, they wouldn't get any information all about the centuries the human beings had ever witnessed. So that the books play a vital role in the history of human beings. So the disappearance of the books will not be possible. They will not go away far away from the human beings. Human beings need to go all along with the books only. It's highly impossible. Again, he keeps saying that it's impossible to put the books away from the human beings. They will not go away from the human society. They are with the people only. The people need to live with the books only. That will happen. Even the happening of the disappearance of the book will not take place. It will not even take place. The disappearance of the books will not happen. Among the many inventions of man, students, the human world has witnessed many inventions of the things. Because why? Because is that the human beings are the adventurous one. The human beings, since he was very adventurous, he wanted to invent the new things which the human beings are unfamiliar with. So many inventions were made among the people of the world. Many inventions were paved a way in the midst of the human beings. The entire world witnessed the many inventions among themselves, among the people of the world. The new things were invented, many things were discovered, many things were manufactured, or they were made to be the new ones. This is how the entire world has witnessed the inventions of the human beings. Among all of the inventions of human beings, the book, without a much doubt or slightest doubt, here, among all the inventions of the man, the book is also one among all the inventions of human beings. It is also one among them, book. Without a much doubt, there is no doubt at all in the human beings. Here we have no doubt at all about the book. What about, what is that? Is that it is the most astounding one. Here, what is Borges trying to tell Olifano and his readers is that the book is the most astounding one, which brings us wonder or astonishment. Certainly, here we have no doubt at all that book is the only thing that is most astounding one, which means that is the thing which brings us the wonder. That's what we call astounding. Astounding means the wonder or surprise. Book is the only one thing amidst all the inventions of man which can bring us an astonishment or surprise. It will put us in a wonder to show at it. All others are the extension of our bodies. Here he cites an example over here to make his readers to understand all the others, which means all the other inventions of human being or the extensions of our bodies. Here our body has an extension pulling our hands out of our body and legs out of our body. They are hands and our legs are our extensions of our bodies. Likewise, all the other inventions of human beings are only the extensions of our bodies, like our hands and legs. Here, our Borges takes the reference of our body, which has our legs and hands as its extension from the body. In the same way, all the other inventions of the human being or the extensions or the amplification of our body and the invention as well. The telephone, for example, is the extension of our voice. When the telephone is invented by the human beings, it becomes an extension of our voice. To give a rise to our voice, human beings find a way to discover something, to give a voice. Which means, what I mean to say is that to give a voice to our vocal cords and to get connected with the whole world, to have communication with the other people who are outside our territory, who are far away from our place. When the man find a necessity to get something in the form of something, that is the thing which can help us to get connected with the other people. Human beings have invented something, that is telescope, which helps people to get connected with. In this way, telephone becomes an extension or expansion of our voice, so that human beings, by using this telephone, they started getting connected with each other, so that they started giving rise to their voice. This is how the communication between the people, among the people, became possible after using the telephone. In this way, the invention of telephone becomes an example for our voice, as it has become an extension of it. And later, Borges keeps telling Alifano that the telescope, which is a magnifier to see the distant objects. Here, students, the telescope is a thing or a magnifier, or we can say it is an instrument which can help us to see the distant objects. These telescopes and the microscope, it is also an instrument that is used to see the things which are very closer to us. These two things, the telescope and the microscopes, are the extensions of our sight. By using these telescopes and microscope, human beings by making use of them, they start looking at the objects which are very far away from them and which are very closer to them. In this way, they start making use of their sight. In this way, in another sense, we can also understand that their sight, their visible, their visibility becomes a more important to see object after using the telescope and microscope. The invention of the telescope and microscope help the people to see the objects that are far away and that are closer to them. And the sword and the flow or extensions of our arms. The sword which we take in our hand to fight with someone else, or to use it to or to use it on other purposes, and the plow which is used to cultivate our land or a piece of land, or the extensions of our arms. We the people take hold of the plow and the sword in our hand to cultivate the land and to use the sword having many purposes in our mind. In this way, sword and flow become a good things, become a inevitable things to our hands or to our arms, which will take them up to cultivate the land and to do many purposes. This is how plow and sword become so an extensions of our arms. Only the book is an extension of our imagination and the memory. But apart from all these things, only the invention of the book becomes an extension of our imagination and the memory. Only the book can give rise to the imagination. The increasing level of the imagination is possible only through the book. Here, what I mean to say is that we the people get access to book only to get the imagination and the memory, only to the enhancement and the increasement of our imagination and the memory. We the people can go to the help of the books. These books only provide us imagination and the memory as well. So these books are very different, and these books are without a doubt the most astounding inventions of all the inventions of the human beings, among other the inventions of the man or the human beings. Olifano. Well, you state in a memorable passage that literature is a dream. Now, Olifano makes another reference over here, that is by addressing Borges. He tells him that you state or you mention or you cite in a memorable passage. Here, students, a passage is a piece of writing that is may be in the form of a paragraph or a sentence. That's what we call a passage. In one of the memorable passage of our Luis Borges, he has mentioned about the one thing, that is literature is all about a dream. That is now said by Olifano. On addressing Borges, Olifano tells him that in one of your memorable passage you said that literature is all about a dream. Listening to the words of Olifano, Borges tells him that it's true. He accepts with the words of Olifano, telling him that it It is true. I said in one of my memorable passage that literature is all about the dream. The dream is, or we can say, the literature is nothing but dream. He accepts before Olifano. Literature is a dream. Again, he gives more emphasis over literature, saying that it's a dream. Again, he gives a light on this statement by saying that literature is all about a dream. Here, students, we need to understand one thing: what a dream is. Dream is what we call in one of the in one of the in one of the theories. What is said about the dream is that dream, it doesn't mean anything. That is, dream is that is what we call, it is a series of mental images created while sleeping. A series of mental images are created. That's what we call dream. Literature is also a dream. In a literature, what is written in it, they are also created. They are imagined. It's a controlled dream. Borges keeps saying that literature, it's not an uncontrollable one, but it's it's a controlled dream. As literature is manufactured, as literature is created by the human beings, it can be taken into a control. When a writer stops writing, when a writer wants to take control of the literature, he can do it. By in this way, literature becomes a controlled dream. Now, I believe that we owe literature almost everything we are and we have been and what we will be. Here, what is Borges trying to tell his readers is that now he believes, at the time when he is being interviewed by Olifano, he believes that we vow. Vow means we get, or we can say that we seek literature almost everything we are. What do we seek in the literature is that almost everything. We seek everything in the literature. What I mean to say is that we the people desires to get everything from the literature, especially about what we are today. Here, Borges opines that we seek or we get the literature, or we want to get everything in the literature about what we are today. We want to get to know everything in the literature when it is produced, when it is composed by the literature, when it is composed by the writers about what we are today. Here, we the people as readers wanted to know everything in the literature about what we are today and what we have been. And we wanted to get to know in the literature to know about what we have been and what the human world has been and what we will be in the future. Everything is included in the literature. As human beings desire to get to know everything all about the centuries the human beings have witnessed so far, since the ancient age, since the primitive ages, the human beings also wanted to know about their future as well. So, human beings wanted to know what they will be one day in the near future in literature. This is how human beings wanted to get to know everything about what we are, what we have been, and what we will be. Our past is nothing but a sequence of dreams. Here, now he takes his turn onto our past. Here, I will tell you people one thing. Remembering the past is said using one word, reminiscence. Reminiscence means remembering the past or recollecting the memory which we left behind us. Our past, or we can say the things which we left behind us that are remembered by us. That's what we call our past. Our past events which we left behind us or included in our past is nothing but a sequence of dreams. How do we see our past is that by our dreams. By dreaming only we can recollect our past. Here, what I mean to say is that our past can come to us, our past can be recollected by us only through the sequence of dreams, one after another. That's what we call sequence, one after another. After the completion of the one thing, the past things, the past events come to us in the form of a sequence in our dreams. Especially in our dreams, we can observe or see the past events one after another. That's what we call sequence of dreams. What difference can be there in between dreaming and remembering the past? Now, Borges asks a question over here: what contrast or difference can be there between the two, dreaming and remembering the past? Only a few minutes or few moments ago, I told people about the remembering the past, which means the reminiscence, or we can say that recollecting the memory or recollecting the events that we left behind us. That's what we call remembering the past, or we can say recollecting the events that are in the past age. Now, he wants to get to know about the dreaming and remembering the past. Here, I will clarify you people one thing by giving a justification that there is no difference at all in between dreaming and the remembering of the past. Both of them are included in the past as well. Both of them are similar in each other. Why? Because is that remembering the past is a way of dreaming, dreaming, which means dreaming in another sense. What I mean to say is that only to make you people to understand the concept of dreaming and remembering the past, I want to let you people to know what dreaming is. Dreaming is a way of remembering the past. Only through the dreaming we can remember our past events, so that we can find an answer over here. There is no difference at all in between dreaming and remembering the past. Books are the great memory of all centuries. Now, Borges says that books are the greater memory. Certainly, we also admit with the opinion of Borges that books are the only objects which can give us a memory. We can gain our memory only through the books. That's why books are the granary of the knowledge with which we can get it in the form of a memory or knowledge. So, by this, we can understand that books are the only objects of the greatest memory of all the centuries. All the centuries, the human beings have witnessed, the human beings which they have observed, all the events are located or situated only in the books. Books have the knowledge in them all about the centuries. Since many centuries, books have survived themselves. after writing by many writers, books have also survived since many centuries. These books have contained many knowledge the human beings have ever witnessed. So, all the centuries' knowledge, all the centuries' events, the important events, and the circumstances that the human beings have ever observed are all contaminated or included in the books. By this, we can understand that books are the greatest memory of all the centuries. Their function, therefore, is irreplaceable, which means their function, or we can say, books work. There, who does this word they refer to here? It refers to the books. Books' function can be irreplaceable. Nothing can take the place of the books. No object can replace, no object becomes a substitute for the books. Nothing can replace the books. Why? Because is that books are the only object which can replace itself. For this reason, the function of or the works of the books cannot be fulfilled or cannot be replaced by any object. Nothing can fill the place of the books. If books disappear, now Borges says that if books go away from the human beings, if a book are invisible, if a book take their presence out of the human beings, surely history would also disappear. Which means what I mean to say is that if the books go away from all of us, certainly the history would also disappear. The history which we have read in our books since our educational career is started, that could also be disappeared. History the human beings have witnessed, history the human beings have ever read, that would also disappear. Nowhere we can find out the history of the human beings if books disappear. Surely the man would also disappear. History includes the events of the man. If history disappears, when the books disappear, surely the man also would disappear as he is a part of the history. Which means the man's history is included in the history of the human world. So, as the history of the human world, as the man is the inevitable part of the history, if the books disappear, as man's history is included, is composed, is written in the books, if books disappear, both of them, history and man, would also disappear. This is how our Borges concludes this conversational chapter. Students, finally, I thank you all for listening to me all through the way. Thank you.